Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So this is the first time we've been back in the auditorium for a town hall since February of last year. So we made it through. So it's exciting to be back and have this format. I like Zoom, but not for everything. So today I have Karen Doyle, our Associate Executive Director, Peter Moutsos, our Dining Services Director, and Chris Floyd, our Director of Facilities, here to kind of give you some updates, because I know all those areas are very important to all of you. So at this time, I'm going to ask Karen to come up and provide some COVID updates and clinic updates.
And she deserves a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to give everyone the opportunity to, if you have any questions regarding any of the updates. I periodically have been getting some calls about the new update. Everyone knows that, we don't have to wear a mask for the residents. Staff are still wearing masks in the community. We have mandated the COVID vaccine. Of course, we'll have medical exceptions and religious as needed. But until all of our staff are fully vaccinated, it's in the best interest of everyone that we are all wearing masks. You'll probably notice that on the healthcare center and assisted living, you still are required to wear a mask. And also, if you go to the clinic, the fourth floor bedroom, or a rehab department. CDC and CMS still require masks to be worn in those clinical areas. The most recent update that the residents received, there was just two key, points on there, that if you are immunosuppressed, that it may be in your best interest to wear a mask at all times. And that also, when you are with individuals that you are unsure of their vaccination status, you should keep a mask on to protect yourself. So those were the two key things. There's lots of other ins and outs. As you see, most of our quarantines have been eliminated. And things are getting more back to usual. There is a little bit of a quarantine, of course, if anybody would become symptomatic and test positive. Luckily, we have not had any resident cases. Recently, we did have one staff member that was positive. I believe that was last week, and that came out in the communication to residents. So if anybody has any questions about any of the new guidance, yes, Claudia.
Wait, we have a microphone.
Second floor people. If I want to go visit someone, I can do that. If I wish to take somebody on the second floor down to eat in a bistro, for instance, is there any procedure for me, or can I just go get them and take them?
No, anyone from the healthcare center or assisted living can come down to any of the main dining venues. As long as the resident is happy to go with you, I would just let the staff know so they're not looking for them. But no, that's perfectly fine. And I'm sure they would really appreciate it, because they spend a lot of time on the second and third floor. So yes. Yes, sir.
Do they have to wear masks in transit?
Yes, for the healthcare center residents and assisted living, they should wear a mask. Of course, when they get to the dining area and they're seated, they can take that off. But we still are asking them. We have a lot of people coming in the community now, and we're not necessarily aware of their vaccine status. So just for that extra protection, there's a lot more regulations surrounding assisted living and healthcare. So if we do have an exposure, it's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of change in protocols. And so we're trying to avoid that. Any other questions? Okay. Well, you can always call me if you have a question, or ask Ann. Also, she can always answer. We work on the grid pretty much consistently. The other thing I wanted to bring up today is, I'm sure some of you have noticed that we are short-staffed in the clinic right now. So kind of an unusual situation. Both of our full-time clinic nurses are out on family medical leave. So Zainab is our sole nurse and nurse practitioner in the clinic. She's still trying to work as a nurse practitioner and seeing those residents. Some of our administrative staff and our supervisors have been helping in the clinic. So she usually has support on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we've changed some of our protocols. You'll notice if you call for an emergency during the day, even when the clinic is open, that the supervisors are now responding. Because if there's one nurse in the clinic, they can't be there and be out at the same time. We hope to have one of our clinic nurses back in the first part of August and our other clinic nurse back by the middle of September. We have hired 2 PRN nurses as needed. One is in orientation, so I'm hoping that next week she'll be able to start providing me time. And we have hired someone else, but they just haven't been onboarded yet. So we're trying to also build in a little bit of redundancy. So, we will have more backup. But this is kind of an unusual situation for both full-time nurses to go out almost exactly at the same time. So please be patient with us. I know everybody loves their clinic services, but we're trying to just support them as best we can right now. Okay, so any other questions for me or concerns? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. I forgot to mention the camera that you see here, we're actually streaming live on YouTube, and we're able to show this on Channel 2, thanks to our lovely Elizabeth Whitehouse and Tiffany in Life Enrichment. So we're also going to be able to show this again tomorrow, and we'll have a link sent out and on our resident website as well. So technology, we came around it. So, but I'd still prefer everyone to be here for town hall, and we'll replicate this, I think, for our July resident community meeting as well. So up next is Chris Floyd. He's going to give us some capital project updates.
Good afternoon. How is everyone doing? Good. Okay, to start with, I'll go over some projects that were either in the process or we've completed already. So as you're aware of, starting April the 26th, we worked on our lobby corridor renovation for the Crossroads. As of today, we have carpet that will be finished tonight. The painting, right now we have doors that are being painted, and that will be completed by the middle of next week, hopefully by Tuesday, because our deadline is June 30th for everything. Myself and the contractors at Sydney will do a punch list walkthrough on Monday morning to get all this completed before June the 30th. As far as the artwork, we're in the process of trying to locate where the best place is for the remaining artwork. We have, I think, about 4 more floors left to do. Sydney will be out tomorrow to start working on that and complete it by Monday as well. On June the 16th, 17th, and 18th in the Point building, we had completed the dryer vent cleaning for all the resident units. The electric for the Knoll Garden for the water feature. I know that's been a hot topic with the grounds committee. That's scheduled. It was supposed to be done June 29th. It's been pushed back to July the 6th, but they promised that it will be done by July 6th. Then the grounds committee will move forward with whatever water feature they decide to put out in the Knoll Garden. We have selected capital paving that will be redoing our resurfacing of the service road, the loading dock, and a small section out by the contractor's parking lot that's slated mid-August. Their schedule keeps booking up, but guarantee we'll have it done by the end of August. It's only going to take about 3.5 days. It will also include restriping the parking spaces, yellow curbs, and redoing the crosswalks. Window washing for both buildings is scheduled for June 28th and will be completed on July the 2nd. If you need your screens or window screens removed, just call down to Stephanie. We will get the guys on schedule to come through and remove those screens for you. Has anyone met Nathan Newfer, our new ground supervisor? Busy guy. He's been on fire since he's been here. Yes. He's not here today. If he was, I would have introduced him. He's a good staff member that we have. He recently, along with Danny, we purchased 5 teak benches. 3 of them were replacements, and 2 additionals. I know it has been requested to seek a few more, so we're looking into maybe get 2 or 3 more to put along I think it's the Wilderness Trail, the Nature Trail that was recently completed. We will also be mulching some areas of the Nature Trail that, if you know where it starts behind the bus stop at the main entrance. There's a lot of areas back there that are mudded, and we want to make sure that that's not a slippery area, so the mulching will take place beginning the first week of July. Some of the issues I want to go over quickly. Yesterday, we had elevator number 3 that was out. This morning, we had number 5 that was out. Both are back in service, but there's a spring-loaded closure. Basically, when the door closes, it's a spring that winds up the cable. Both on 3 and 5, that cable snapped. I don't know how soon they came out yesterday. I wasn't here, but this morning with number 5, they were here relatively quickly. The issue with number 2, there's a drive that is bad. We were informed this morning that it's on back order. It should be here middle of next week. I asked them as soon as it comes in, the day that it comes in, if it's not too late, to come back out and replace it. It's been over a week now that we've been waiting to get it fixed. Some items that I've been discussing with Justin and things that we're going to be moving forward with is we'll be replacing a little over 80 lights on the exterior of the building for both buildings, LED light retrofitting. We hope to get that started mid-July, and we'll certainly brighten things up outside. We also are working with our purchasing and receiving department on an RFP for the window replacement for the crossroads. We'd like to at least get phase 1 in the process of getting that started, so next year we can complete phase 2. I have 2 proposals for the Point building. We're going to be redoing the coating that's on the top of the building, or the top of the patios. It's a polyurethane underneath. When you look up, you'll see it's concrete. It's not the prettiest thing. We're going to do a white coating, but it's a breathable, so water can penetrate through if it needs to breathe through the concrete. And we will be moving forward. We're working in the process of getting the beauty salon renovated. It's been a while since we've discussed it, but it's back on our schedule. Once we hear back from the architect and Lisa Wallace, we'll be moving forward with that.
Excuse me,
Yes.
when you say patios,
Get a microphone.
When you say patios, do you mean the balconies?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got a question about the renovations on our residential crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-COVID, we had a meeting with the interior designer and some staff from here, I can't remember who. And we gave our suggestions. For instance, on the 4th floor, we wanted to keep our wallpaper, and nobody, the residents, there were about 6 or 7 of us, nobody objected to that. We loved it. It was in good condition. We've got this boring wallpaper. It's just beige. Some people are beige. I'm not a beige person. But what was the point of having those meetings when our requests weren't taken into account? And also the carpet, everybody on every floor is complaining about the carpet. As one of my neighbors said, somebody must have worked very hard to find such ugly carpeting. I'm really happy some of you like it.
I wasn't a part of the initial meetings that other staff members met and the interior decorator, so I don't know what was discussed in those meetings, but I know from what I've been told, there was a lot of resident involvement on each floor, and from a marketing perspective, we'd like to bring a lot of the things up to date, make them fresh, make them new. One item that has been mentioned a lot, that it's much brighter than it ever has been in the last 15, 20 years. And I know we're not, when you make a decision, you're not going to make every single person happy.
Only one person on my floor says they liked the wallpaper.
Lovely.
I'm not gonna complain about the carpeting but I am concerned that since they have finished redecorating the 12th floor, it's hot. You know, when you get off the elevator, it's really hot. When you come out of your apartment, it's hot. I'm not sure, is the temperature going to stay that hot?
We will look into it, but I know part of the reason you have those skylights up there, and we've just had four of our five air handlers on the roof completely tore apart, put back together, a lot of parts replaced. There's one that needs some more work on it. I don't think that one's going to change the temperature a lot. Maybe depending on what hallway it is, it will, but I don't think it's going to lower the temperature. But we can certainly look at it, see if we can lower the temperature a little bit.
We didn't seem to have that much heat before. That's why I'm wondering if maybe it had something to do with the redecorating. But it is hot.
No.
Sir?
Yes.
The volume of air coming out on the 12th deck is not what it used to be. So I'm agreeing with Drew there that the 12th floor, I'm sure that the skylights have something to do with it, but they've had something to do with it yet last year, the year before, the year before that. But this year it's hotter, and the volume of air coming out of the vents right where the elevator lobby is, right past that, where apartments 1233 to 1238, the volume of air there is appreciably reduced from the past.
Okay. We'll certainly look into it. Any other questions?
I have a compliment for the 10th floor. It looks fabulous.
Chris,
Yes.
you mentioned the paving people and redoing the walkways. Would that include the curb cuts that we've been asking for?
I'm speaking with Justin later this week to rediscuss that.
This is reminding people for those who walk around the building, there are places as from when you leave the health center area and the garden box and cross over to the Crossroads Garage, you have to go down a curb, up a curb, then down a hill, down a curb, across the road, up a curb to continue. And it would be much better and safer, especially for rollators, if they could roll on a curb cut in those places. So that's what, I know it costs more than you might think. Anyway.
Mr. Gurney?
Yeah, Don Gurney. I'm going to follow up on that. I didn't hear an answer of A, whether it's going to be done, and B, when it's going to be done.
We
As far as
have
the curbs and-
We have three proposals. Like I said, I want to discuss it with Justin because one of the contractors who looked at it said that you don't have the space to do an ADA compliant curb. In order to do an ADA compliant curb like what's outside here, it has to be 6 feet by 9 feet. We don't have 6 feet by 9 feet. You could put a ramp in, but it's not going to be ADA compliant.
So even if it's not ADA compliant, if a ramp is big enough for a rollator, that may be sufficient for most of the residents.
I think what we want to do is make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's before we just move forward with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What's the date projected for the replacement of the first phase of crossroad windows?
Well, first we need to get the RFP out. I don't want to throw a date out there and get stuck to it.
Well,
Thanks,
it used to be June.
I understand that, and we also have to consider that a lot of manufacturers are behind in supplies due to COVID, and I cannot guarantee you that if, say, we need 700 windows, they're going to be able to promise on 700 windows. Any other questions?
Chris, this is one about putting something up inside the kitchen that holds notes and all, I discovered that over time, I had the front of my refrigerator completely cleared with worthless notes. And as I look at it, I said, if I could get a board that was about 3 feet by 5 feet, I could put it up there and I could put all those notes. So I went over to Staples. I had measured the area. I got a beautiful board, brought it back, and realized I had no idea exactly how to put it up myself. So I called your office. You sent a guy down there, and he did a great job. I suggest anyone who wants to see this, you've got this 3 foot by 5 foot backed cardboard board in which using pins, you can put any kind of notes you want. And the person you sent did a heck of a job putting it all together, so I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So my question is what's the first phase of the windows? What does that include?
First phase would be sending out an RFP and then getting 3 contractors to come out and walk the property and do their inspection. And then after that, they would put a report together, make their recommendations on what kind of windows they would provide for us. And then it's reviewed by me, Justin, and Linda. What's that?
Which floors, is it all the whole building or is it?
It's the whole building, but we would start on the 12th and work our way down.
Back to the board that Frank was talking about, who was the person that did that?
Without, off the top of my head, I do not know, but it was probably either Hamid or Augusto.
Okay, Gustav, I just happened to notice going through the staff thing, pictures and things, he's listed as just a painter, but he's quite a woodworker, and he's the one that does, introduces people to the wood shop and things. I hope he's recognized for more than being just a painter.
He is. He's a talented guy. He's multitasked. Anything that we ask him to do, he never says no. He usually jumps in. Thank you for that. No, there's. Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Guy.
When you were talking about the washing of the windows, I thought there was some discussion about the screens. Or are we to do something about the screens?
If you have screens, most of the screens we end up removing are the ones in the point.
Because I had maid standing and I didn't know if I was supposed to be out there looking for screens or trying to get them off.
No, we're good.
I had a question about, you mentioned resurfacing of the parking areas and blinds. Will we need to move our cars? Is that going to be effective? The placement of the cars will be effective when they're resurfacing?
More than likely, yes, especially for staff. They'll have to move over to the giant parking lot. As far as residents getting into the Crossroads garage, myself and the contractor is going to come back out, or he's going to come back out, and he and myself are going to go walk through the space again. He's telling me 3.5 days. I just want to make sure that if we need to relocate those cars in there somewhere else, that, you know, we make it as quick as possible for the residents so they can get their parking spaces back.
Because parking, some of the residents have 2 cars and some of them park outside also. The question is it's summer season too, people are gone. You'll let us know well in advance?
Yes.
Taking place.
But if you're at the top of the hill, no, that will not affect your parking. Any other questions? Going once, twice?
Thanks, Chris. I know we've had a lot of stop and go with projects because of COVID, and you know, timelines have definitely changed. We've had to pivot, and you know, as we find with so many projects, supply chain has been negatively impacted because of COVID. So it just makes our jobs a little more difficult. But Chris, he's been working really well with his team to get these running so we can get a lot completed by the end of our fiscal year, which is September 30th. So now I'd like to introduce Peter Moutsos, Director of Dining, to talk about food.
I think we should just go straight to questions. Because I think what I have is probably not as interesting as the questions that perhaps I'll receive. But thanks, Chris. Great job. Yeah, just to catch you all up. A lot's been going on in dining services. We just finished a series of focus group discussions, about 6 groups, about 36 plus residents, to kind of engage, see what's going on with a specific question in regards to our Jefferson dining room, how we can better utilize that. So we just sat down today as a leadership team to absorb everything that was captured from our lovely chair, Madame Judith Miller. And so we'll have an opportunity to sift through that and kind of put some things into play and into action. And so in the meantime, we know that food and menus are always a hot topic. We know that we're not at the point where we used to be. And so I just wanted to share kind of a current state of the union as it pertains to dining services and our path forward. The team is developing menus for all of our venues that will launch potentially mid-July, end of July, and that's based on our recruiting of open positions. So let me catch up a little bit as far as what's going on with that. We are recruiting for a couple of positions in the back of the house, in our kitchen, a lead cook supervisor, 2 cooks, 5 utility positions. So there's some challenges there, but we are committed to recruit. We're working with our HR department to bridge that gap, as well as in our front of the house areas. We always have some turnover with servers, and I think by the end of the summer, we'll have some adjustments to make. But with that said, we did fill a sous chef position a couple of weeks ago. Terrell Luster. I don't know if you've all had an opportunity to see Terrell. Terrell has an extensive background. He has a bachelor's in business management at George Mason University. He's an associate in education and business management at Northern Virginia Community College in Woodbridge, and a culinary degree at Johnson & Wales University. Terrell has worked in places like Bistro L'Ermitage in Woodbridge, Citronelle, you all remember that restaurant, under Michel Richard in DC, the Champlain in Fort Monroe, Virginia, the dining room at Fort Colony, Williamsburg, Virginia, the Bistro, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and then Charlie Trotter. Does anybody remember who Charlie was? Chicago? Really talented super chef. So great pedigree, great background. We are really excited that he's part of our team working with Chef Nina to, as we launch new menus and concepts and ideas, I think y'all will be very pleased. Yogurt machine. Where's the yogurt? The yogurt is coming. It's just true, with COVID, all these things, manufacturers, parts were challenged there. But as an update, we thought we were going to launch it last week. We said we were going to launch it last week. Apologize for that, but we have to replace the part. So hopefully next week, depending when that comes in, but it's coming. The other thing we're developing, and you'll see this week, launch when West Winds comes out in your menus, our menus, is a dining service newsletter called The Scoop. So the team will have, there's always so much to share about what's going on in dining service. So we just thought that would be a good idea to have just our own newsletter, speak on what's going on, current updates, what we're thinking about, what we're dreaming in regards to food service. So that will come out this Friday. It's our pilot. Please let us know. Give us feedback, suggestions, comments as far as content as we continue on with that. We'll also post it on the website. Claudia is going to help us out with that. And so we look forward to just, having another platform to keep everybody abreast as far as what's going on the day-to-day and week-to-week basis in dining services. And just a reminder about on-campus dining for guests. Currently, we are asking that reservations are made through us at the 7645 number a day in advance. We are assessing if we'll change that to the same day. We started that way because we thought we'll get an onslaught of all your lovely family and friends wanting to come and visit you. But we'll look at maybe adjusting that. So I know it's been probably a little bumpy for some. We're learning as well. We're trying to accommodate your friends, your family, and guests. So if somebody comes up same day, connect with us. If we can accommodate, we will, because we want to make sure you're having a good time with your families. And that's really all I had. So no questions, right? Thank you. Please, I welcome them.
Yeah, I have a question about the cappuccino machine.
Yes.
And it's sort of annoying that it says broken, but it can't, be broken. It's been like a month.
Yes.
Did someone forget to buy the supplies, or what is it?
No,
Can you please?
Yes. It's frustrating for me as well. I am a coffee drinker. I drink coffee like water. I do appreciate the frustration, but it's parts related. We get a lot of volume with those machines, and so when they break down, we have contractors that we rely on to come in and fix them, and so that's something we might need to assess and evaluate for the next fiscal year. Do we need to kind of redo how we do coffee in those machines? So we're looking into that. But thank you for that. I agree with you. It's frustrating. Oh, come on. But yes, please.
Are you going to increase the venue in the bistro? It's very limited at this point.
Yes. So I didn't really go into details as far as, so the staff is developing menus for all the venues. So yes, we will increase the amount of items that are in the bistro menu currently. You will be pleased to see there'll be some items that we haven't menued before that you will like. Fireside, we will go into a pattern where we'll change the menu every 2 or 3 weeks. So it keeps it fresh seasonally. The chefs get to do what they can do. So we'll be doing that. Jefferson, we will continue with the action stations. We're considering expanding the days of the week for action stations. We will increase the always available menu. So those things are coming. We have a plan. The plan is in place. My challenge is, as I shared earlier, I don't have the players on the pitch or in the kitchen to execute it consistently. So we want to be systematic as far as how we do it, plan for it. We are working diligently with HR to recruit. So that's our challenge. But I think we'll get there hopefully by the end of July, where you'll start to see more items infused into our menus.
Peter?
Yes, sir.
About the Friday newsletter that you referred to, is that weekly?
Yes.
And it'll be on the website?
Yes.
And it will not be printed?
Thank you, Mr. Graham, for that. My plan is to just send it out electronically. The mass email, website, So if that doesn't work for somebody, please reach out to me, and then we can print a few, because we want everybody to have an opportunity to read the content. But my plan is not to print for everybody.
Green Team, thanks you.
You're welcome. You are welcome. Thank you, sir. I think we have somebody in the back and then somebody here.
Speaking prematurely for the IT committee, we have a sense now of how many of the residents do not have ways of getting the information from the electronics, and how many copies of anything you're going to need. So you will be getting that number quite soon.
Oh, thank you for that. That would be so helpful. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Would you explain to me how I can use the passes or those coupons or
Yes.
for my guests or whatever?
So every month, every resident has the availability to pick up 4 coupons from the marketplace, and they can be used throughout the continuum of our venues for food. And they're charged towards your dining dollars. So they can be used for guests, family that are coming and visiting. Yes, yes. And then we had 4 more the next month. Yes. Is that helpful?
Why do I need that? Why can't they just charge off my dining dollars anyway?
Good question. I think that's part of how the program was set up. So then, it's just, you're allowed 4, because if you just open it up, then you probably would go over, we'd spend more. And, that's why I think the program was set up a long time ago as part of the package.
So there's no money value.
No. Good question. All right.
Oh, wait, I have a question for all our residents. Peter is still, I guess you're seeing about 70 plus to-go orders coming out of the bistro in Jefferson and Fireside. Question is, why are all of the residents that are participating in that doing that? Is it because you're just not comfortable coming back in the dining rooms, or have you just gotten comfortable dining alone or with your friends in your apartments?
Well, I've got comfortable with dining alone. I think that I've gotten addicted to some TV shows that are on. Like I always like to get the BBC World Service and fit well with them going down. So I'm a big guilty about it.
I think we have somebody. Hey, Tiffany, I think we have somebody.
It has just become more comfortable for me to go down and get lunch for my husband and eat in the apartment.
Right.
And we do go down for dinner, but lunch in the apartment is really easy.
Sure.
Some of it is comfort, but the bistro, for instance, only has one of the entrees and only a limited menu. There are only so many hamburgers you can eat in a week. And frankly, I just don't get organized to make reservations for the other 2 venues, so it's easier for me to just go down.
Sure.
And take out.
Sure. That's good.
I think another thing about takeout is that it's highly convenient, especially if you want to dine at different hours. And recently in the dining room, the service is so slow that also compels, I think, takeout.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
I was hoping we were going to run out of time, so I wouldn't have to go for my part. So earlier this year in January, resident council conducted a survey, and the goals of the survey were to obtain resident views on how to shape the future at GHBC beyond the pandemic. And I believe we received 367 responses. 267 of those responses were the vision ideas, and then 100 were commitment statements. I just wanted to provide a very high-level overview of where we are. All this information that I'm sharing with you today, the updates, will be provided in the library by Friday. We're in our second quarter, so I've committed to keep that updated for all of you to review. And as we continue to go through the year, we'll action plan items based on the comments, and a lot of them really revolved around COVID, the protocols, a lot around building and maintenance, a lot around dining, administration, life enrichment. And remembering when we had this survey, we were still, in a lot of restrictions as far as the protocols, the quarantine. So a lot of things had not lifted, and a lot of the trips, the outings, the events, the contractors coming in and teaching classes, and the dining venues not being open. So as you can imagine, a majority of the comments that we received were around that. And as of today, a lot of those comments and actionable items have moved forward. Out of the 267 vision ideas, we've taken action on 140 of them. Resident council was very kind to group a lot of those together that had a common theme. And if you're interested, again, they'll be available for review by Friday in the library. A lot of the comments were more of a statement, and there was not really anything to take action on, but it definitely posed conversation, more questions around some of those topics. Of course, one of the biggest challenges that all of you have faced over the years is our Wi-Fi. And I know last year the project was delayed, which included these access points. There's one here towards the center of the auditorium, and that's what your wireless devices are connecting to. So the company that we contract with, that Dave Fowler, our director of IT, works with, came through the entire building, the point, the crossroads, every square foot, and they scanned with all of their technology to see, where the signals were not as strong. So they added many of these wireless access points throughout the building, which has improved a lot of signal strength to some of you that we're getting a really weak signal. The goal now is, as we renovate apartments, there's going to be a wireless access point installed in each apartment. So I'd asked Dave to come here today to give a more detailed overview of the project. But the IT, our resident IT committee, actually got some questions together to pose to Dave, and he was kind enough to answer some of these questions. And this was what is on the minds of some of our residents. And I'm going to go through this list, and I'll open it up for questions because I'm sure you have a lot to talk about with Wi-Fi. So the first question is, does GHIT have protection against ransomware? Do we have insurance to mitigate this risk? And Dave said yes and yes. So again, he's not here to kind of elaborate on that. But if there are follow-up questions from today, I'll make sure that I'll redirect them to him. Second question, how many visits has Ruben made to GHBC residents? What were the main problem categories? Since we officially started taking resident requests, there have been over 800 tickets between GHA and GHBC. He shows on his report 688 of them have been GHBC. That's very telling, huh? The main problem categories were internet, computer, other, and the largest category is, hold on, I'm sorry. Internet category, that's what okay. The categories are, I guess, the report that he was getting all this information from. For whatever reason, Ruben didn't necessarily enter a category to put these under, so it was hard for him to extract that data. So, but I'm sure our survey from our IT resident committee will provide us with a lot of good information. The third question, when will Ruben start charging for visits? And officially, he started May the 1st. And for the month of May, it looks like we've generated about $800 here at GHBC and about $300 at GHA. The fourth question, could IT get an expert to lecture in our auditorium on cybersecurity issues, particularly what residents can do to protect their own devices? And Dave says he will explore this and look for someone to come out. And I know that we've partnered with our Wells Fargo and Arlington Community Federal Credit Union to come out and give our residents some continued education on the different types of ransomware, the phishing emails, all those things to really protect all of you when you get these emails in your inbox and what to do and how to protect your devices. Question number 5, will IT or Ruben help residents set up their own wireless personal area networks? And Dave says, yes, when the time comes, yes, for the normal rate. And number 6, what firm is GHI's internet provider and how long have they served us? GHI, Dave's answered, GHI has 4 internet connections with 2 different providers. Crown Castle Fiber, we've contracted with them for about 5 years. And this network is primarily for residents and secondary for staff. If Crown Castle goes down, resident traffic will automatically be diverted to Atlantic Metro, and Atlantic Metro is the other provider, and we've contracted with them for less than a year. And then this network is secondary for residents and primary for staff. And again, if Atlantic Metro goes down, staff traffic will automatically be diverted to the Crown Castle. So backup system in place. And again, I apologize that Dave couldn't be here today because you're probably going to ask me questions I can't answer. Again, I'm more than happy to take those questions and report back out to the resident IT committee for follow-up. And we'll have all the follow-up actionable items from the resident council survey in the library on Friday. So, questions? Ms. Elizabeth is coming.
Justin, you mentioned that Ruben has served 800 different requests or more. That's a lot of requests. Is he the only technician that responds to those requests? I also heard from other residents that there was an evaluation sheet that was given out each time he serves a resident. And is that something that's normal, or I'm not sure I understand it. Is he the only one that is sort of responding to the request for technical support?
No, through when a resident requests help for whatever reason in our help desk system, Victor and who works primarily out of Goodwin House Bailey's Crossroads, and Ruben, they see those in the queue, and they are able, based on what the issue is, Ruben might necessarily have the skill set to address some of those work orders, whereas Victor would, because Victor has more experience and degree in that field versus where Ruben is in his career. So they just triage the work order system each day. So he's not the only one that's running work orders for residents. Victor is very involved as well. And if there are issues that they cannot troubleshoot, they do involve Dave. If there's challenges, and usually those are not a resident issue, they're more of an internal network issue. All right, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the status of the senior TV replacement?
Senior TV replacement is in the works. We are in the works with Cox to get a final agreement in place. We have, I think, is it a 60-day, Chris? 60 or 90-day cancellation agreement with Senior TV. We did budget for it for fiscal year 22. So more to come once we have that agreement signed off on, and Chris will, be sending out more information regarding what that's going to look like for each individual apartment, because I'm assuming with Cox you're going to have to install individual boxes in the apartments, right? So yeah, I don't have a timeline quite yet, but it's coming. Yes.
Justin, it's time to open the side door of the point. Can you see that is done? It's very inconvenient not to have it open.
So it's open. You can access it with your
You can go out, but you can't come
card
in.
reader. Really? Okay. Well, Bryce is not here, but Judith, you have a.
It's open, and I brought to the attention of the security people that the problem is that the handicap switch as you go in, just checking in, doesn't work. So you flip your, card, mine's on the back of my phone, and it does open. You just need to grab the door and pull hard, and it opens up.
Okay.
So that needs to be repaired, but I brought it to Alice's attention, so I'm sure it's already.
Okay, thank you. We'll follow up, make sure work order's in. But just as a reminder, all of our guests and families still need to come through the front. So if you're having family visit, I know it might be more accessible to let them in the side if you're living in the point, but please, they still need to come in and sign in.
So, back to computer security. This is sort of information that some of you may know, but not everyone. When you set up your computer, you can either have an administrator account or a standard account. The standard account, when you try to install some software, like some attached with your email, you have to then go, it'll say you need administrative privileges. This is what you should have set up. And I don't know how many of you do this. I only use standard account on my thing, but I have an administrator account. And this is especially true on PCs as opposed to Apple. And I'll just tell you to look up on Google and find out about that. Just out of curiosity, how many of you know what I'm talking about and have standard accounts? I don't know, about 5 hands went up there. Okay.
Thank you. Good information. Yes.
Just on my way down here, I noticed one of the facilities management signs taped with Scotch tape to a brand new sign holder. So I took it off and I got rid of the tape and tried to put it in. And although I only tried this once, I'm not a stupid person. I could not figure out how to put the sign in the sign holder. So that's number one. I guess I'm going to need a lesson. But number two is why? I mean, facilities management has access to painter's tape. There's no reason for you to be using Scotch tape on anything and leaving residue behind.
Great point. And, I see, especially during the pandemic, signs were everywhere, even pre-COVID. So just a reminder, be mindful of, where we're all putting information. We don't want to distract from, what the aesthetics of the area and the building. So, yes, ma'am.
I've got 7 friends coming for dinner on Saturday evening. Now before, when I had a group, just one person would sign into the group. Are all 7 going to have to sign in at the front desk individually?
Yes, all of your guests will need to sign in, yes.
Come early, but
Yeah.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
I have a question, and maybe I wasn't aware of when we made a change, because we had a large meeting talking about Wi-Fi, I believe 2 years ago. And at that time, the head of security or IT here was saying that he did not work with anything as far as staff, but that he would give them some information. After that, we had Victor and another young lady, and I think a third person were hired to work with the staff because we were having so many problems. The young lady disappeared, and then it was Victor trying to do everything. And then Ruben, I guess, was in training, and he was there, and now all of a sudden, there's Victor and Ruben, but at $50 an hour. I don't know when we went from people being able to help you to people being able to charge to do the things and still not know where these hotspots are in your apartment or what's going on. It sounds like we're really getting into some inappropriate, and I can't say inappropriate, but some things where we really need to give help to the residents, not always assuming that we can get all the help from volunteers that are residents, and some of are very, very, very helpful. I know I run Russ crazy because I'm always having to ask him to do things, and a lot of other people, so he's running around, and I know other volunteers are, but I think that's unfair, because we go from one thing. We have one man who's saying he will have nothing to do with residents, and then we have just 2 people who are supposed to be able to do everything for residents.
There is another gentleman that works between GHA and GHBC that does come in. I think Ruben's position was based on just the increasing amount of technology our residents are coming in with and that they're purchasing, and it's not meant. It was more of an ask from our residents to, hey, how can Goodwin House support our residents that might need a little more navigating, training, education, recommendations for, their technology. Any charges that Ruben has for residents would be along those lines, not necessarily there's a trouble with your Wi-Fi connectivity. There's not any charges for anything like that. It's more of, enhancing, the services that we can provide for our residents. I know during the pandemic, there was a group of residents that got together and helped each other, which was a great and amazing thing to see, to help see the support, the network, the community that was going on there. But if for Ruben, he's there to help and triage all kinds of work orders, whether it's just an internal issue with our Wi-Fi, but also to help, if you want help navigating through Excel and learning how to use that program or Word or Publisher, PowerPoint, and there's always going to be work orders where there's a real issue, not necessarily a educational piece, but we want to try to listen to our residents and provide those services as much as we can.
I still wonder why we have to pay extra when we know that our residents need that help.
And we're definitely hearing our residents and hearing what you're saying, and I know our IT department will continue to evolve. It needs to, it will, and continue to change. So absolutely. Yes.
I'd like to raise something in a related issue. I actually spoke to Ruben this morning because yesterday I had a new tablet, and when I tried to log in, the secure Wi-Fi for Goodwin House wasn't coming up. And I thought if I had an appointment with him, that meant he could bring it up. Apparently that's not the case. He basically took a picture of something on my computer to see what my computer looked like and then logged me in as a guest, saying he's going to do something so it won't get erased on a regular basis. But at that point, I didn't know who, if anybody, I could go to say, why did not secure Wi-Fi come up as an option? And is there something somebody can or should do about it? And that was part of my issue, is who do I go to if Ruben does something and I have a further question? Yeah,
so I would anticipate that he's circling back with Victor or Dave to address that concern or issue with it not showing up. Again, his skill set is minimal, and it might be a network thing on our end that it's not recognizing, or I guess the why is your device not recognizing our secure Wi-Fi, and he can't speak to it without some additional support from Dave or Victor.
I was under the impression, though, when he left, that he wasn't going to look up any more about it. It's like this was his solution, so that was part of the issues.
So he signed you in as a guest.
Right. I signed myself in as a guest. No, I guess he did it anyway. Under the director, which I could have done myself the night before, but I thought I needed to be insecure, and I don't know what really the difference is between them.
Yeah, and I apologize for Dave not being here, and I've been telling Dave he needs to change the name for that Wi-Fi, because there's a misconception about the secure Wi-Fi versus the other Wi-Fi. The secure Wi-Fi, it's no more secure than the other Wi-Fi. It's just, again, I can't speak to it, but I know he's talked with a lot of you about that before. But there's a misconception that that's the one you should be on, that is going to protect you. Does anybody remember Dave's spill about that? I think about 2 years ago. Yeah.
reservation.
Yeah.
What he was going to do and what we were going to do.
Right. There's no reason to be concerned if you're on the GH Wi-Fi versus the GH secure Wi-Fi.
I'm a new resident here and moved in May 5th, and I think I read it right, that I get 4 or 5 free hours of being set up IT.
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that the auditing people in IT count my Reuben visits,
Mhm.
count them up right,
Uh-huh.
because I've seen Reuben a few times.
Okay.
So I make sure they're counted up correctly.
What's your apartment number? I'll make sure.
634.
634. Okay.
Thank you.
You are.
We had some wonderful volunteers coming for years to give us a series of weekly lessons on how to use the computers for various things. I can't tell you how valuable I found that. Will we be able to continue that now that some of the restrictions are being lifted?
Excellent question. The good news is we are able to re-engage our external volunteers now that are vaccinated. So Brett actually gave me a contact for a gentleman that was previously teaching classes. So I'll be reaching out to him to see if he's interested in coming back to join us to start our classes again. And if not, if he's moved on, we'll look out in the community to find someone else to come back. So more coming soon.
All righty. We're over time, but I can still answer questions if Wi-Fi is always a hot thing. Okay. Oh, one more. Last question.
This is a question, I didn't know whether to bring it up under Chris, Peter. The carpet between the bistro going into the JDR is really messed up. I think because you have food going in and out with all the changes. Will that be replaced soon?
Yes. What's the timeline on that, Peter? By the end of this fiscal, we have put out an RFP for new carpet, and we need to hear back from the manufacturer on how soon that can get here, and then we'll work on dates for installation. So it's in the works. All righty. All right. Well, thank everyone for coming out today.